The UK has one of the highest rates of obesity in Europe. It is estimated that 28% of the UK population live with obesity, and a further 35% are overweight. That makes obesity a popular topic for reporting within the pages of the national press. In their book Obesity in the News, Gavin, Brookes and Paul Baker of Lancaster University examine the way that the UK press reported on obesity between 2008 and 2017. They collected and examined news articles containing the words obese or obesity from 11 national newspapers over the decades studied. Their aim was to analyse the language used in news reporting using computer software to point out frequently occurring words and trends. In total, almost 44,000 articles met this criteria, containing over 36 million words collectively. They found that the newspapers studied tended to use 3 different frames to talk about obesity. The first frame refers to lifestyle. This involves projecting the view that obesity is a direct result of lifestyle choices, such as the type and amount of food that people eat, as well as the amount of physical activity they engage in. Obesity is therefore viewed as a matter of personal responsibility. The second frame is scientific, where newspapers explain obesity as being linked to biological factors such as genes, brain activity, or even viruses. As with lifestyle, this frame also focuses on the individual, but refers to factors that are often beyond a person's control. The third frame relates to structural factors. This looks at wider society, pointing to aspects such as inequality, poverty, education, government policy, the practices of food manufacturers and advertisers, and town planning decisions. It is argued that some people will find it easier to make decisions about their food intake and how much they exercise based on their place in society, while others will have a more restricted set of choices. In this analysis, sets of words were identified as belonging to each frame and tracked to see how often they were used over time. It was found that words associated with the lifestyle and scientific frames were used more and more over time, while words in the structural frame received significantly less attention as the years passed. This trend shows the increased framing of obesity as something which is due to factors that relate to the individual rather than society. So what forms of language did the newspapers use to do this? One trend involved discussion of food and eating behaviours with religious or moral metaphors. Examples include words such as sin, naughty, cheat, tempt, and guilty that were associated with certain types of food that are perceived to contribute to obesity. Another technique involved articles about diets and exercise programs that others have followed in order to lose weight, often endorsed by scientists or used successfully by celebrities. These articles emphasize weight loss using words such as dramatic, staggering, amazing, whopping, incredible, and astonishing. In tabloid newspapers particularly, there were lots of examples of weight loss narratives involving real-life stories about people who had been criticized or unhappy due to their weight until they embarked on a new weight loss program. These articles often featured before and after images. And while these stories were intended to act as an inspiration for readers, they tended to focus on short-term success and rarely criticized the bullying or shaming behavior that the person with obesity had experienced. In fact, shaming language was a common feature of tabloid news reporting, with a range of insulting labels used to describe people with obesity, such as hog, pig, fatty, blob, and lardy. Insulting labels were also attributed to body parts, such as moobs, blubber, muffin top, and bingo wings, and ways of walking were mocked with words such as waddling, lumbering, puff, and pant. People with obesity were also regularly described as eating in an excessive or frantic way through terms like bolt, shovel, wolf, devour, gorge, and swill. At best, people with obesity were viewed as tragic or funny. At worst, they were seen as disgusting, lazy, or even desperately criminal. Some journalists have justified this style of shaming as being cruel to be kind, but one potential consequence is that it results in people having an increasingly complicated relationship with their bodies and the food they eat. However, Newspapers both shape and reflect the views of their readership. The analysis also examined reader comments to the online versions of the articles, finding that generally the language used and attitudes expressed below the line were even more negative than the articles themselves. The attitudes found in this study are not unique to newspapers. They occur in countless other contexts and are often learned when people are very young. So, if we want to live in a society where people have better physical and mental health, we need to consider how we talk about people with obesity and whether the language used actually does more harm than good. To read more on this subject or to purchase your copy of Obesity in the News, visit cambridge.org and search for Obesity in the News.